That's Blanca. Feeding her babies. There's Haverty. Trying to keep up with his crowd. This is Malachite, which is the only baby that he is continuing to feed. So this is one of the most difficult periods of being a breeder. It is the final stages. Chicks are out of the nest, but they are not independent yet. They have to learn to eat. And they don't. There's several chicks, and at the same time, their parents are thinking about resetting and starting a new clutch of eggs. So one of the things that happens is, because these babies are so big and take so much longer to develop than regular parakeet chicks, is they need care for longer than their parents are inclined to give it to them. So you have to watch the parents to keep them from resetting, and it requires watching because there's no one single formula that actually works here. Haverty. So Haverty had 3 chicks of his own in here, who are all the little spangles. And then I dropped this little normal blue right here on him, which came from Powder. He was Powder's foster chick, but Powder was so sick that I pulled him and dropped him on Haverty. And then just today, Malachite's been a disaster, and he rejected that chick and was abusing him, chasing around the cage and actually attacking him. So now he has Malachite's youngest chick right there. This little guy, when I pulled him out of Malachite's cage, was afraid of everything because his parent was attacking him and he didn't know how to handle that. So they become very fearful and very upset, and they stop eating him completely because they're dependent on their parents and they're lost. So I put him in here literally 4 hours ago. All the older chicks have adopted him. He's got a full crop. I suspect more from him eating himself than from Haverty feeding him, but clearly somebody else has fed him as well. And he's begging because he was starving. His younger sister is this little girl right down here. I dropped her on, Malachite rejected her like a week ago, and I pulled Lava, her mother, and her, and put them in a separate cage, and Lava took care of her for the last week, which is good. But now Lava has flipped off, and a part of why I'm having such a hard time with it this time is because I had to give him that medication, and for 3 days the medication kills their appetite, and everybody stops eating, including the parents, and stopped feeding their babies. So everybody was starving, and then they're done with the medication, their stomachs are all coming back, and the babies are all starving, and the parents are working overtime. So this little blue girl down here on the bottom, she does have some food in her crop. I suspect she's eaten it all herself. She's not integrating as easily into this group as her little brother did into Haverty's group. But she's not being attacked anymore. She's not afraid anymore. So she's not scared stiff and unable to come out of the corner and eat. And when they wake up with her in there tomorrow morning, they'll be like, oh, you, yeah, okay. And she has been interacting with some of the other chicks. This is Kobe right here getting preened from his own daughter. This is the only chick in here that's actually related to him. Do you see how much bigger she is than him? It's kind of funny. Yeah, Kobe's the little guy. That great big thing leaning over him is a 6-week-old chick. But he's been a fantastic daddy. He's raising 2 of Malachite's and Lava's chicks. This is the older one, and the blue one is the younger one. And he's raising 2 of Marble and Preston's chicks, this pied right here and this pied right here. Haverty's raising his own 3 chicks, and that's his little lookalike that I think is a girl. And this little one, who is Malachite's, and that little blue one, who is probably Marble Impressions chick, but might be Powders. So, but at this point, the reason I can get away with it, these birds now have like 6 babies to take care of. No, is it 5 or 6? I think it's 5. And the reason I can get away with this is because these babies are largely eating on their own. But, so this little guy, I put him in here this morning. He was dying of starvation and was weak and went and sat in the corner and took a long nap. But clearly he's got a full crop sticking out there, and the other chicks are preening him, and he's decided he's not abused anymore. He's found his true home, and he's eating. He's probably eating a lot of that. What's in his crop probably came from him eating on his own. But when he was with his own parent that was abusing him, he was too afraid to eat, so he was starving. So this little one down here is doing much better. I've seen Malachite feed him a couple of times. So Malachite, for some reason, likes him. The other 2 that he rejected are both girls. I don't know if there was a clue there or not, but Malachite's sticking with. And this is Blanca, who is rather famous for being the most brutal bird in the world. She's the one that was chasing my finger when I put it on the cage near where her nest box used to be. She also acts like she's going to come get me when I open the cage and go to handle her chicks. She gets between me and them and blows up her feathers, and I've never seen a bird so paranoid that I was going to kill her babies. So I have males over here raising babies on their own. I pulled Kobe's hen Lavender because she was continuing to pluck even though she'd been treated. So he's been on his own for quite a while. I pulled Arini, Haverty's hen, just a few days ago because she was starting to distract him into breeding and not feeding his chicks. And since she was not feeding them, I sat and watched. Well, you're just expendable. So she's out in the flight cage, and they'll be reunited very soon. So the first thing that... Oh, and then with Blanca here, I have seen Blanca feeding these chicks over and over and over again, and I've never seen Bubba Jr. doing it. Now, that doesn't mean Bubba Jr. didn't, but sometimes the hens are very hands-on and will literally run the cocks off from feeding the chicks. So they get jealous or something like that, and he was more interested in breeding her than anything to do with chicks. So instead of pulling the cock and instead of pulling the hen and leaving them with their father, I pulled their cock and left them with their mother. The only difference here is the fostering thing. With adult males that have chicks out of the nest, you can stick, most of them will accept any chick you stick in the cage. As you can see with these 2, they're raising like a gajillion chicks from a whole bunch of other birds. But the hens are much more cognizant of who is their baby and who isn't. And if I tried to foster a chick into her cage with those 2, she would attack it. So that's something to keep in mind. So when you're deciding who to pull and who to leave when things start to get hinky, and again, usually this happens at somewhere around 4 weeks of age. You start seeing your parents' attention waver, and oftentimes I will pull the nest box and leave the pair together as long as possible, which I did with these 2, and which I did with Haverty and Arini. But there comes a point where the other mate will be more of a distraction than is really a good idea to have around, and then I pull them and put them out. And I'll put her and the babies out in less than a week because they're pretty old now. Her babies are 4 weeks old yesterday. These guys, except for the new one that I just put in, are all pushing 6 weeks. And the new one is pushing 5. It's this little girl right here. And I will wait for... She's a full crop. You can see it sticking out there. I will wait for a few days. She's 4 weeks instead of 5 weeks, like everybody else. So I'll wait for a few days for her to settle in and make friends, and then I'll put them out. Because she can, when I put them out in the flight cage, I put the whole family out together, and she'll continue to get support from the other chicks and from Kobe, so she'll be fine. And the other thing I like to do is when I put families out in the flight, I like to put several families out all at once, so that's kind of overwhelming to the birds that are out there. Now, baby birds get a pass from adult birds. It's the teenagers that you have to watch. When you can put a brand new little baby out in a cage full of adult birds, and they'll fly up to it, and they might start to like make noise about, you know, dominance, and they'll realize that it's a baby, and they'll just ignore it completely. There's no point in playing dominance when it's a baby, you know. So, so I will take these two cages and dump them out together. I will probably put Malachite out with them and these guys. So I'll take all four little families, cobbled together families, and dump them all out in the flight cage at once. So that there's not any, and I will put them back in the flight cage that they came out of, so all of the adult birds will know these guys, and there won't be big drama. So yeah, and I just have to watch and make sure that she continues to feed, but I'm pretty sure that she will do just fine. She'll keep them going until they're 5 weeks old at least, and that's just a Haverty chick that she's raised from the egg, so she doesn't know it's not hers. And that little one back there is hers, and I think they're only 2 days apart in age, so yeah, I will dump all of these families and their mini mix and match chicks out at the same time into the cage where their mates are, so they can reunite with their mates. And once you get them out there, the fathers will continue to care for those chicks in a supportive fashion. The chicks are expected to eat and drink on their own, but their father urges them on. They tend to follow him around because it comforts them. Both of their parents, but more so the fathers. These birds are kind of designed for the hens to do the heavy lifting, laying eggs, hatching out teeny tinies, and nurturing them up to a certain point, and then the dads start to move in and really play a heavy role. And towards the end, it's the fathers that do all the heavy lifting. So they kind of split the workload. So anyway, I'm excited. I have 4 birds over there, 6 in here, and 2 over here that are all going to go out, and they have mates ready and willing to hook up with them again and the whole thing. And then she will probably go out with these 2 chicks. It depends. Her babies are kind of, they're as old as the very youngest chicks. They're as old as this little one that I just fostered in on Haverty. They're the same age as her, so I could give them a little more time, but I might not. It kind of depends on how close they are to actually flying. So I can guarantee you that a chick can fly at 5 weeks. But if you put them out in the cage and they can't fly yet, their parents will fly down to the floor of the cage and feed them and clean them and take care of them until they learn to fly, which is one of the reasons I really like doing the mixed age full family flight cage, because it allows parents to continue to nurture chicks through the transition into independence. So yeah, I think that's it for now. But for now, I think all these chicks are in abuse-free environments where they're free to learn how to eat and survive. Hi, little boo. I see you have food in your belly. You see this little one over here is down on the floor eating with Dad. A big part of what they do is just follow their parent around and do what their parent does. So, thank you for at least taking care of that last one, Malachite. I know you haven't been feeling well, but every little bit helps, right?